make sure once again, no murmurings, no whispers. We are going to go live in 28 countries. You'll be seeing live. There is a camera on you too. So please make sure you're looking smart and happy. And even if you have problems, smile when the camera is on you. Okay? There'll be a guy coming with a big people and taking your shots. Nobody will leave the auditorium till the time the ceremony does not finish. Okay? Say okay.
This meeting is being recorded.
We will start probably the next 10 minutes. There's a full ceremony which is planned for you. There are some cultural events also which you will enjoy a lot because I've already seen them twice. So there are going to be some entertainment factors as well. Some of you are going to put stories on. If you're going to tag somebody, you can tag them as well on Instagram, or Facebook, or LinkedIn, and Twitter, wherever you guys are. And hopefully you'll get something out of it. You'll see what's being done on the global level. So that's the exposure that you're going to get out of it. Probably one of you is going to participate next year, probably win a gold for your country. Your faces tell it all. You're not prepared. So are you studying hard or hardly? Okay, I get it. But nevertheless, some of you still have masks on. ये जो लोग बहुत शेर मारते हैं, मैं तुम्हारे को सॉलिड शेर सुनाता हूँ सुबह सुबह पढ़ाई में. लोग हर मोड़ पर इतना संभलते क्यों हैं? लोग हर मोड़ पर इतना संभलते क्यों हैं? इतना डरते हैं तो घर से निकलते क्यों हैं? So some of you who got my sarcastic joke, remove your masks. Now, we will give it to you anyway. And don't worry, I hope you guys know that Graphical Institute of Medical Sciences and the Graphical Hospitals is already on. All right, we have the chief guest and the guest of honor on the way. So we'll be starting in honor. I'll also request a standing ovation once they enter the auditorium. Then I'll give you the cue to sit. Am I clear? Okay, we're starting in 2 minutes. Kindly be seated. Thank you. I request the movement of the second row to my right to kindly stop immediately. We're expecting the guests now. I request the big crowd towards my right to kindly be seated as well. And a round of applause. Thank you. Kindly be seated. Thank you. I'm just waiting for my cue, whether everybody, all 20 countries are logged in, and I will start. I'm good to go. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the management, faculty, staff, and students of the Graphic Era family, I extend an extremely warm welcome to the August gathering in front of me, and I welcome you to the valedictory ceremony of the Asian Physics Olympiad 2022. Let's have a huge round of applause. Thank you. Very, very special welcome to our chief guest, Professor Ajit Kumar Chaturvedi, Director IIT Roorkee. Welcome, sir. Guest of honor and very special, Dr. Rajendra Tripathi, Director General, UPOS. Both Vice Chancellors of Graphic Era deemed to be University, Professor Dr. Nagarajaji, Vice Chancellor of Graphic Era University, Professor Dr. J. Kumarji, Director General for Graphic Era deemed to be University, Professor Dr. Sanjit Solaji. Sorry to mistake, Chancellor Ashutoshi, welcome, sir. All the eminent guests today, and of course the fantastic team of APhO. This last 7 to 10 days have been absolutely mesmerizing and absolute. We have been seeing something which was absolutely out of the way, and we've been so impressed, so motivated by what happened at this Olympiad. And we have a few other reasons to be extremely joyful and happy also. The first one being that this Olympiad, the Asia Physics Olympiad 2022, is happening after a decade. After 10 long years, it's happening. The last one that happened was in 2012. And it's the first time in the history of this Olympiad that a private organization has the honors to host it. Of course, this will be the right time for me to also thank the Department of Atomic Energy, Department of Science and Technology, Ministry of Education, Homi Bhabha Center of Science Education, Mumbai, and of course IAPT to show this confidence in us and give us this opportunity. I hope we came through your expectations and you guys had a comfortable stay. Because I'll be very honest, it was an absolute pleasure just to watch these guys work as a team, have fights and conclusions, and go through things all day and all night. And none of them, they were so happy about it because they work. I've seen them working at 4:30 in the morning and having fights like a husband and a wife, and still coming on conclusion. And it was, I also know the student committee which was involved and were observing them. It was a pleasure. We are honored to have you at our campus, and I hope this was not the last time. And we are hoping that you visit us more frequently and we get to see you guys a lot more. And without further ado, we will start with the official ceremony now. And with this, I would welcome the Vice Chancellor for Graphic Era Hill University, Professor Dr. J. Kumarji, to kindly come up and start with his welcome address. Thank you.
Thank you, Saib. Good afternoon, good evening, our friends from Asia and Australian countries. I say hello and greetings from India. I feel extremely privileged and honored, in fact, to have been given this opportunity of welcoming all ladies and gentlemen on this valedictory event of Asia Physics Olympiad 2022. This is being held at Graphic Era University, Brasília, India. At the outset, sir, I'm so pleased, in fact, to welcome Professor Ajit Kumar Chaturvedi, the Chief of Education, who are known as an eminent electrical engineer and acclaimed nationally and internationally, and also Director of the Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee. And I'm told that this is the oldest agricultural institution of India, 175 years old precisely. We are very pleased to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for coming. Happy and pleased to extend a warm welcome to illustrious Dr. Rajendra Bhazi. He is the Director General of Uttarakhand State Council of Science and Technology. You all know him very well, and he's a hallmark of science and technology. Actually, you know that. We are so pleased, sir, that you accepted our invitation for being here. I know you're very busy. I am very happy actually to attend a warm welcome to the Asian Physics Olympiad President, Professor Leong Chuan Kwek from Singapore, Professor Arnab Bhattacharjee, Director, Homi Bhabha Center of Science and Education, Mumbai, Professor P.K. Ahluwalia, President, Indian Association of Physics Teachers, Professor Vijay Singh, President, Academic Committee, Asian Physics Olympiad 2022, Dr. Praveen Pathak, Co-Chairperson, Academic Committee, Dr. Ravi S. Bhattacharjee, Organizing Secretary, Dr. V.P. Tyagi, the President of the Finance Committee, Dr. Vijay Gupta, the convener, and all other distinguished members of the Organizing Committee of the APhO 2022. As I was said already by my colleague Sahib, that you have worked very hard in maintaining the standards of the highest level actually to conduct APhO 2022. We appreciate it. I would also like to greet Professor T.S. Batutulan from Mongolia, and he's the organizing secretary for the Asian Physics Olympiad 2023. It's a pleasure welcoming our distinguished and honorable Chancellor, Professor R.C. Joshi Saab, Director General Dr. Sanjay Jasolaji, Vice Chancellor Dr. Nagaraja from our deemed university. These directors and faculty and students of the graphical universities, illustrious faculty members and students from the IITs and other universities, media personnel, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honorable moment for Graphic University, in fact, to have a prestigious president this afternoon with us. Thank you so much for being with us. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know that this Asian Physics Olympiad, the premier physics competition amongst free university students from Asia and Australasia, is organized with the purpose to foster closer international collaboration between Asian countries in physics education in high schools and conduct assessment to identify promising physicists. As you may also know that the APhO is designed after the International Physics Olympiad. So for that matter, you know, it demands in fact an analogous level of intellectual capability from the participants as well. In India, APhO 2022 has been organized by Indian Association of Physics Teachers with the support of the Department of Atomic Energy, Department of Science and Technology, and Ministry of Education, Government of India, through Homi Bhabha Center for Science and Education. It's a matter of great satisfaction, ladies and gentlemen, that despite pandemic, APhO has held its flag very high and innovated in the process of holding it very appreciably. It's indeed challenging. It was challenging, no doubt about that, to host online competition across countries, that to different time zones. It's a great effort. India is hosting APhO for the second time, as you might be knowing. It's a distinction, I guess, but then it's also been earned by some other countries, also like Asian countries. And at the same time, we speak for confidence, in fact, in the IAPT, who have put in a lot of efforts, in fact, to prepare for the Olympiad. It's my great pleasure to welcome teams from 28 participating countries. I'm told that 280 students who participated from Asia and Oceania regions, and teachers also who assisted with it for taking part in Asia 2022. I hope that all students have enjoyed the questions and participated actively in all the online activities. I believe if science has to grow, the younger generation who are the future of the country should take up the challenge. For that matter, I greatly appreciate and congratulate, in fact, all the students from all the countries who participated in APhO 2022. Dear students, if we are going to succeed in future, it depends totally on what we are capable of doing today or tomorrow, on the quality of our decisions today and competence and professionalism of skills which we have today. The university under the brand Graphicera have adopted a global approach to education and research with focus on international perspectives and expertise, and are known for their innovative and rigorous education, which has fostered professionalism or professionals in fact across industries and various sectors in India and abroad. We at Graphicera are truly honored to be the host of the 22nd Asian Physics Olympiad, and we strongly believe the linkage and friendships built during the event will go across boundaries to strengthen relationships between the participating countries. At this juncture, I will salute the genius of our visionary founder, Professor Dr. Kamal Ganshalaji, who attached highest priority, in fact, to the successful conduct of this premier event in this university. It's with tremendous pleasure that I welcome you to the vibrant campus of Graphicera University, Dehradun, India, for the valedictory function of the Asian Physics Olympiad 2022, and offer my very best wishes to the participant for their successful future. On behalf of my nation, my university, I'd like to thank you for being with us. Have a great day. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. I'd now like to invite Professor Vijay A. Singh, Chairperson, Academic Committee, for the academic report of APhO 2022. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and very respected faculty members, vice chancellors and chancellors, and director general, very dear students, and all my respects also to the staff over here, who have done a wonderful job over the last 1 week. So, I have to describe the academic programs, so I shall confine myself to the theory part. My young and dynamic colleague, Praveen Pathak, is somewhere around. He will describe the experimental part. And I will take about 5 minutes of your time. And I realize that the audience may not, that I'm supposed to give a non-technical presentation of the academic tasks. So let me try and do it. This whole exercise began in earnest about 10 months ago in August, when we all assembled in Graphicera University on the other side and tried to hash out some problems. Then over a period of 10 months, we met at least 5 or 6 times in Graphicera, and we had very gracious hosts. I mean, uncomplaining and unstinting support from Graphicera, host of institutions. So that was a large part of the encouragement that we received, and the fact that we could do it was partly because of this. So let me describe. There were 3 theoretical tasks. The first task, each task takes about 10 points, to just give you an idea. So it's 30 points, and there's 20 points for experiment. The first task was basically, how should I put it? This is the centenary year of our founder of IIPT, Dr. Khandelwalji. Okay. And one of his closest associates, Professor R.N. Kapoor, who is 91 years old, is also present among us. So the problem that we made was also a centenary problem. It was called the Stern-Gerlach experiment. It was done exactly 100 years ago by Otto Stern and Gerlach. and it fetched what was termed the Nobel Prize. And it is an experiment, so it's paradoxical. The problem is a theoretical problem, but it was the analysis of this setup that Stern-Gerlach had that we presented as the theoretical problem. And what did this problem do? This problem basically led it to the discovery that the electron or the proton, which is the fundamental particle, has a charge, of course, it has a mass, and in addition, it also has a magnetic moment. It is a small magnet. It is a tiny, tiny magnet. It's a billion times smaller than the regular magnet that you see in everyday life. But it was this discovery which was seminal and fetched the Nobel Prize. Now you might say, what good was this? Okay. So I'm reminded of something when Faraday was asked, Michael Faraday, the great British physicist, experimentalist, when he discovered electromagnetism, magnetic induction, he was asked, what good is this? A young high society lady asked him, what good is this thing? So he said, man, what good is a newborn baby? That was his response. And then a politician asked him, what good is this, Professor Faraday? And he said something very interesting. He said, I don't know, of what use it is, but I'm sure that one day you're going to tax it. That was his response. And sure enough, this magnetic moment, this tiny, tiny magnet that you have, which the electron and the proton has, is used in every city in the magnetic resonance imaging machines that you see. The MRI machines all across the globe use this fact that the proton has a tiny, a million times smaller magnetic moment than what you see in everyday life. So that was the first problem. And imagine how small the magnet was, and imagine how fine that experiment would have been. So that was the first problem. It was designed by Professor H.S. Mani, who was the Dean of Faculty, ex-Dean of Faculty at IIT Kanpur, and then became the founding director of the Harishchandra Research Institute in Prayagraj, and a young member, Dr. Gautam Datta, who is from the Ambani Institute for Information and Communication Technology. So the first is in North India, and Gautam Datta is from West India. The second problem. Okay. And to begin the second problem, I'm reminded of a verse, and the foreign audience has to excuse me, I'll translate it for them. I was reminded of a verse by Jaishankar Prasad. It's a very famous epic poem called the Ramayana, and the very first 4 lines describes the mental state of Noah after the great floods. The Indian equivalent of Noah is Manu, and it describes his state. He's sitting on the hillside of a very majestic mountain, and the way it goes, and again you have to excuse me, I'll translate it for you, for the foreign audience. ऊपर नीचे जल था, ऊपर हिम था, नीचे जल था, ऊपर हिम था, एक तरल और एक सघन, एक तत्व की ही प्रधानता, कहो उसे जड़िया चेतन. That is, there is only one element. There is only one. The water is water, but it takes 3 forms. It takes the form of ice, it takes the form of water, and it then takes the form of water vapor. And that is what the second problem is about. It's about a phase transition. You have a metal, and this metal, for example, is a metal, but if it is at high temperature, it's paramagnetic. If it is at low temperature, it is ferromagnetic. It becomes a magnet, or it does not become a magnet depending on the temperature. And there is a beautiful theory by the great physicist Landau and Ginsberg called the Landau theory of second order phase transitions. How, I say, how do I explain this theory to a 12th standard student? So we cooked up a mechanical model to explain it to this 12th standard students, and this mechanical model became task number 2. And this model was developed by 2 young faculty members, Professor Shitikant Das, okay, he is from IIT Kharagpur, he's faculty there, and Dr. Parmendra Ranjan Singh, who is in the audience, he's from a college, he's the principal of a college in Bihar, the work in Narayan College, Goriakot. So this is from East India. This problem is designed by the East Indian crowd, but with absolute help, an unstinting help from the academic team, whom unfortunately I cannot name one by one. The third problem was was designed, was basically, let me put it, had the Indian touch. So we had Landau and then we had something else, Otto and Stern and Gerlach. The third problem had an Indian touch. The Himalayas have fascinated Indians for a long, long time. And I'll quote a verse by Kalidas, a Sanskrit poem 2,500 years ago. And what he says about the Himalayas is that Tarasyadishi Devatma Himalayo Nam Nagadhiraya. To translate it, he says the northern part of India consists of the Himalayas, these enormous Himalayan mountains, which is loved by the gods. It is the house, it's the place where the gods reside, he says. It is not just, and you'll be surprised to know that it's not just the Indians or even say, our neighbors like from Afghanistan or China who are fascinated by the Himalayas, but even the British were. And the great Scottish physicist Maxwell around 1873 wondered if you could see Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world, from the plains of Hindustan. And why couldn't you see it? Because after all, air absorbs. And when air absorbs, it is basically, the light gets dimmer and dimmer, and you may not be able to see, say, from Delhi or from even northern, for example, a place like Patna. So he asked this question of another great physicist, Lord Rayleigh, and Lord Rayleigh put it on the back burner. Maxwell died 6 years later in 1879. Lord Rayleigh visited Darjeeling in, I think, 1897, and he remembered what Maxwell had asked him. And he wrote a very famous paper. It's one of the most famous papers in physics in 1899. It is this paper that we brought down to the level of a 12th standard student and asked as task number 3. In addition, we put a social context in this. We said, what if there is pollution? Would Mount Everest be visible? And the answer turned out to be no. So we had a social context in it, and the problem was designed, was held by 2 people, Dr. Amitabh Vermani, who is faculty at the Chennai Mathematical Institute, and Professor A.C. Biyani, who was a retired professor from Central India from government college. Of course, once again, supported by a great team of, a great academic team of 10, 15, of 20 people. I would, basically, these are the 3 tasks which I had to describe to you in non-technical terms. And I will end by saying that it is not, how should I put it? There is a lot of support that we got from the staff, and an enormous support that we got from the young student graders who were assembled here for the last 10 days. So I wish to thank them. Thank you very much.
I think that deserves a round of applause. What a magnificent way of the 3 tasks. Of course, getting into context the Himalayas, and so very soon the kids will be performing a Garhwali dance as well, and we'll be getting you closer to the hand of the gods. And without further ado, I'd now like to call upon Dr. Praveen Pathak, co-chairperson Academic Committee, for the report on experiments APhO. So thank you.
Thank you very much. So, when I was given the responsibility of the experimental component and conducting the exam for Asian Physics Olympiad last year, I had no idea that how we would conduct the event because of mostly the COVID and separately. And around January, when we shifted to an online mode, we were already ready with some physical experiments, which we planned for on-site event, but we had to dump that idea. And suddenly we had a challenge to make something interesting which you can perform on simulations, means on your screen. There were 3 aspects for which we had to deal with. One was to design the experimental problems, of course, on simulations. And second was to how to deliver the simulation-based experiment so that you do not compromise with the ethics of the exam. And third was, which was not actually the experimental part, but since my responsibility was also to conduct this exam smoothly, this was the third task, was to prepare a portal on which we can interact with the academic, the countries which are taking part in this event. And all these jobs, all this work. So APhO is like a vehicle. If one part breaks down, whole vehicle will break down. So everything has to be in sync with each other. There are small parts which I'm sure that a proper board of things is coming, but what I was responsible for, I will tell you about this. Let me also tell you that whole tech team which was working behind these simulations portals, we were working for this for a year, but this was the first time during the event when we met in person. So imagining that working from home for a year and delivering this to you. A little bit about the experiment, which is the core of this academic exercise. So I will not be able to describe the way Professor Singh does a fantastic job. But let me see if I can explain this to you for a non-physics audience. So these experiments they are called black box, what we made. So black box is like a mystery box, which was given to the student, and they have to find out what is inside this mystery box without going into the box by looking at the physics properties. So the first experiment was, and also both experiments were inspired from smartphone-based physics experiment, which we have been doing and which actually we made for an on-site event. So the first experiment was, so you were given a pipe and you drop a magnet inside it, and then you don't see that pipe, what is happening, how magnet is going to the pipe. Now since there's a magnet and a pipe is conductive, then magnet doesn't fall like it falls in a gravity. Magnet slows down. On the screen, you were given a smartphone, and just by using this smartphone, you were supposed to find out the velocity of the magnet, and you have to identify what this pipe is made of. There were three parts of this pipe. One was aluminium, one was wooden, and one was copper. So the students were asked to identify all these sections and find out the physical properties. So we gave a simulation. They could rotate the smartphone, they can find the properties, they can move the magnet, they can drop the magnet, and they can take observations. It was no less than an actual physics experiment. The second experiment was also a black box. It was partly inspired from what astronomers do. So there is an astronomical object, you know about Big Bang, everything is moving away from you. And then you get signals from those astronomical objects. And you just based on those signals, you try to find out what is the speed of those objects. We replace this thing with just one difference, that instead of a light waves, we had sound waves. So what we had for you is called acoustic black box, in which you use Doppler effect to find out the properties of sound source which were moving away from you. So as I said that I know there is a formal vote of thanks is coming, but it is my duty to express my gratitude to my team members. So I would like to thank my core academic team, which mostly consists of students, undergraduate students. I will name them: Siddharth Tiwari, Chandan Ravekar, Professor Charudat Kadolkar, Siddhant Mukherjee, Gattu Maitreya, who made these simulations or experiments possible. I want to thank Chinmay Haridas for writing a code for a portal which he wrote in just 2 days before the event to deliver these simulations to the countries. I want to thank Ayush and Sajal, who made A-Forum, a portal which we made to interact with the countries possible. I want to thank Ashish, who took part of networking and Zoom meetings, etc. And then my gratitude is also due towards the graders, student graders, senior graders, who worked tirelessly throughout the night to grade these papers and to defend their grading during arbitration yesterday. And at the end, I want to thank APhO because he provided us a fantastic computer lab in which we could achieve all these things smoothly. It will be a lie if I say that our preparations were flawless. We did have shortcomings, we did have hiccups, but at the end, what matters is that we responded quickly and we fixed all the issues. Whether it was night or day, we were able to overcome the problems. Today, when I'm standing here, looking back at last 10 days, it is difficult to imagine that what we have pulled off with a limited resources, what we have in last COVID years. With this, I stop and I thank Graphic again who gave us support to host the event. Thank you very much.
Alô? Opa, agora vocês conseguem me ouvir, gente. Então, o professor Pravi, ele acabou de apresentar a prova experimental. Foram 2 problemas. Um deles, né, de magnetismo, comentando um pouco sobre a simulação que foi feita pelos alunos, né, colocando o ímã, simulando, soltando. É muito parecido com o experimento 19 aqui da playlist. E o segundo sobre efeito Doppler, com a caixa preta acústica, né? Então eu vou parar de falar e introduzir o som de novo do Zoom, que provavelmente em breve a gente vai conhecer os premiados na APhO 2022.
I am very thankful again to my academic team for the kind of work that they have done. And today, when the jury met and we decided on the marks, their comments, at least 80% of the people thought we had done a very good job and very good problem. And there was a country that said that future APhOs should be designed on such problems. So before I give a report of the APhO 2022, I would like to invite the director to come up here and hand over certificates to Professor Vijay Singh and Prabhupada.
Então em breve a gente vai conhecer os premiados. Nessa madrugada, 1 da manhã, foi decidido as notas de corte e foi aprovado por votação. Certificados entregues, né, aos presidentes de comitês acadêmicos, a prova teórica e prova experimental.
A report of the APhO 2022. 2022 actually started in 2019. And 2019, of course, we were planning for a bigger show where we were hoping about 400 students and another 100 or so teachers would be around and floating around in this campus, and taking them for trips to all the places around Dehradun. And that's the way we planned, and that's the way we were going out till 2020, not 1920. I was not born in 1920. 2020 came up, and it took away 1 year from our calendars. And then we waited for 2021, we did some work, and we kept on waiting. And we were hoping that by 2022 May, when we had planned this thing to happen, by that time everything would be settled in the world and we would be able to get our guests over here. But January, again, we had this bird all over the world, especially places like Singapore, China, Hong Kong, China, I think, is still under a lockdown in some places. So our wishes for grand APhO out here, it just crashed. And in January, we decided to go online. Well, going online, of course, we don't have to take care of, housing 200 people, finding boarding, lodging for them, and so on and so forth. That is the easy part. But to conduct an examination amongst 28 countries all over the world at a given stretch of time where, they are from different regions, the eastern part being Japan and the western part being actually Brazil. Okay, so trying to work out the logistics of just trying to get the examinations on it, their arbitrations and so on and so forth, marking the students and so on, was a task of a different dimension. It was a different dimension. So we had to sit down together, work it out. And finally, today is the penultimate day, and I hope we have been able to live to the expectations of us itself, who wanted to put up a very good show. Well, when we started the program, some countries thought that the questions were too easy. Well, some people kept shut. And today, when we have the results, we find that the median score is actually 50%. So 50% of the total, that's about 25. The total exam is for 50 points. So which means that the questions were very balanced. Okay, we had enough people on this side of the thing, and we had enough people on the other
A
side.
nota média foi de 50%, né, segundo o presidente da Olimpíada.
Looked at there is a certain protocol which we have to follow to decide the different medal winners and so on and so forth, which is very well defined in the statutes of APhO. From there, we find that 11 people are going to get gold medals. This is again an individual competition. It's
11
not a
medalhas de
competition
ouro.
of countries, even though the country is represented by this individuals, but it is an individual competition. 11 people are going to get gold, 13 are going to get silver, about 34 are going to get bronze, and about 60 to get what is honorable mention. So I want to tell my international friends who have
Os 30 medalhas de
supported
bronze,
me
né?
a lot during this program, during the preparations of this program, that we tried our best to get over all the geopolitical problems that are existing in the world, and get beyond that, get into a place where there would be just a fair, good, and honest competition amongst students. And the spirit in which we did that was best described, I think, by the song which is always. Can you play the song, please? Can you play the song? It's always inspired me. Please play Imagine.
Vou tirar o som para o YouTube não baixar por direitos autorais. Tá tocando agora a música Imagine do John Lennon. Logo mais a gente deve conhecer os medalhistas. Ok.
Thank you, Ravi sir, and let's have a huge round of applause. This was a fantastic song that, what people sometimes expect of a valedictory ceremony of a physics Olympiad, and you're listening to Imagine what else do you want. And so I also appreciate the way you mentioned to find the right balance between both the sides, and we've had a song, so I think this is the right time we get in a dance as well. And welcome to the land of the gods, welcome to Uttarakhand, and welcome to Dehradun. And with that note, I request Garwali dance performance to kindly come up.
Olá, gente. Estamos aqui chegando perto da divulgação dos premiados da Olimpíada Asiática de Física.
So let's have the Garwali dance. Thank you.
Agora vai ter uma dança, uma prestação cultural indiana.
All right, let's have a huge round of applause for that Garwani dance. Now coming towards the real part of the show now, and before we announce the bronze, silver, and the gold winners, and of course the winners, we'll start with the announcement of participants awarded honorable mention. I'll also request the
Menções honrosas sendo divulgadas agora.
on the screen, and I'll take the names of these people who've been the participants who have been given this honorable mention. So we'll start with Mr. Joel Su and Yip from Singapore, Mr. Lincoln Liu from Hong Kong, Rafael Moreno Riviero from Brazil, Golam Ishtiaq from the Republic of Bangladesh, Mehmet Anil Eskisen from Turkey, Jonathan Chandra from Indonesia, Dong Cao Wen from Vietnam, Dair Nurtayev from Republic of Kazakhstan, Sheng Rong Liao, Chinese Taipei, Zixiang Su from Chinese Taipei, Yu Feng Kong from Vietnam, Vladimir Lim from the Republic of Kazakhstan, Kang Dide from Turkey, Tidwat Kosel Pandrong from Thailand, Phuc Nhung Dang from Vietnam, Min Nguyen Tuan from Vietnam, Masayuki Sujimura from Japan, Taha Ali Mohammadi from Iran, Lap In Leong from Macau, Paulo Henrique dos Santos Silva from Brazil, Emir Ekdar from Turkey, Noam Lihani from Israel, Tihiti Chujid from Thailand, Haru Okura from Japan, Constance Siku David from Romania, Vincent Neg from Australia, Shai Goldenberg from Israel, from Thailand, David Michael Inderwood from Indonesia, Kai Bo Tuong Tien from Vietnam, Ching Yuen Kwok from Hong Kong, Atik Abbas Al-Abad from Saudi Arabia, Norman Ahmad from Turkey, Abdullah Nazarbek from the Republic of Kazakhstan, Wang Haoyao from Chinese Taipei, from Lenin, Switzerland, Poliseti Kartikeya from India,
Parabéns, Gabriel. Parabéns.
I apologize if I have pronounced any name in the way it should not have been. And let's have a huge round of applause. Next, we will be moving towards the bronze category, followed by, of course, silver.
Agora os medalhistas de bronze. Medalha de bronze para o Brasil. Parabéns, Gabriel.
त्यो डाँडामा आगेर घाम लाग्यो घामाइलो लाग्यो मलाई रमाइलो तिमी र म घुम्न जाऊ न
अनि घामले मलाई सताउला काली मलाई बनाउला तिमी पिरतीको छाता ओढाउन
Cara, não sei vocês, mas essa música aí no fundo me atrapalhou todo na hora de ler os nomes.
Come on, they deserve a round of applause, all right? I understood 0 words, but it was very good. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Okay, yeah. So that is how a relation with the follow, right? No matter how we understand each other or not, we love each other, okay? Things are absolutely fine and they look absolutely bright. And we are going towards the heavy duties now. And we are going to announce the bronze medalists. I have the list already. So the bronze and silver will happen together. And this time I'll be a little slower as well. So these are the heavy duties, global level. So let's start with the bronze medal. Okay, I think we're going to have that on the screen as well. I've given you too much time on the screen now.
Medalha de
Is there a
bronze
slide even so?
e de prata.
I can announce straight away. I have the list.
Eu tive a impressão que eles não colocaram todos os nomes das menções.
All right. So for the bronze medalist, we start with Anilesh Bansal from India, Mr. Vinu Hamid from Republic of Kazakhstan, Mr. Elisher Yakabiev, again from Republic of Kazakhstan, Mr. Vladimir Savitintsev, Russia, Mahit Gadiwala from India, Mr. Maximilian Timofeev from Russia, Mr. Fatanan Kanuji from Thailand, Gabriel Morales Panos from Brazil, Edward Yuminato from Indonesia, Harsh Jakar from India, Mr. Ivan from
O Brasil ganhou medalha de bronze na Olimpíada Asiática. Parabéns, Gabriel.
from Thailand, Joel Heng Hoi O from Singapore, Butrika Manhi from Romania, Stanix Ku Robert from Romania. Ladies and gentlemen, those were your bronze medalists.
Agora medalhas de ouro. Bastante China, Rússia e da Austrália.
Hong Kong, Daniel Tukwatulin, Russia, Chendanai Draken Tanodong from Thailand, Mukul Simon Kajan Chin, Singapore, and Mr. Huang Lee Min from Vietnam. Let's have a huge round of applause, please. Souls into it, and some people have passion for physics, and some for speaking, and some for dancing, and some for singing. And at the end of the day, we have to find the right balance. So with that note on the balance thing, let's have a group called the Incredibles with their incredible performance. Thank you.
ये लाइव चल रहा है।
Music. Give me some.
उसका पता दे जरा मुझको बता दे मैं उससे मिलूंगा बार मिटा दे यार मिला दे यार मिला दे
फोटो
भैया जी स्माइल
हौली हौली गिद्धे विच नच पतलोनी तेरा लगना मरोड़ा गा जावे कच दा समान बिल्लो रख साम के नी किते सोहणीए धड़क ना जावे हौली हौली गिद्धे विच नच पतलोनी तेरा लगना मरोड़ा गा जावे हौली हौली गिद्धे विच नच पतलोनी तेरा लगना मरोड़ा गा yeah baby I'm just gonna hurt you really, really bad.
The end is never the end. It's always the beginning of something.
Come on, guys, come on. You should know what you're supposed to do. Okay? Trust me, this was, I'm not sure it was as tough as the Olympiad. This was tough, okay? In any case, I don't know how many physicists can do that. That's going to be tough, right? But with that note, let's come to the heavyweight fight now. I have the 11 golden names now who received the gold. And I'm going to announce it very, very slowly so that I'm loud and clear. So, with your absolutely loud applause, the first winner, Mr. Freddie Yip from Australia. Mr. Wang Zinan, People's Republic of China. Mr. Maxim Pirmiakov from Russia. Oh, Chenya. Also, best performance from a debut country shared by Mohammad Sadra Hosseini and Daniel Hoizentabar of Iran. Let's have a huge round of applause. So these were the medalists and the special prizes, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the right time to start the address by the president of the International Committee, APhO, Professor Leong Chuan Kwek, over Zoom. I request the team if we can set him on the screen and we can have the president himself to address the gathering. We can turn on the stage lights, please.
Yes, yes. Okay, good evening. Professor Dr. J. Kumar, the Vice Chancellor of Graphic Era University, Dr. Rajendran Dopa, Director General of the Uttarakhand State Council for Science and Technology, Dehradun, Professor Ajit Kumar Chaturvedi, Director IIT, Professor P.K. Aluwalia, President of the Indian Association of Physics Teachers, IAPT, who is in the Zoom meeting, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you have had a wonderful experience in this Asian Physics Olympiad, despite the fact, of course, that it's online. And also despite the fact that there's the relentless affliction of the pandemic, we have once again complete our competition online, of course, perhaps not in the best way, but certainly a way for you to see where you stand within the international physics arena. The essence of a physics Olympiad lies with the question. This year, I believe the organizers have done a fantastic job of delivering nice and interesting questions. Earlier on, the head of the theory part for the academic committee, Professor Vijay Singh, describes the physics of the first question in theory on Stern-Gerlach experiment. But not many people know that the experiment was successful because of a bad cigar. And unlike many of our clean labs nowadays, Otto, Stern, and Walter Gerlach smoked in those days in the lab. And in fact, Otto Stern wrote subsequently, after venting to release the vacuum, Gerlach removed the detector flange, but he could not see any trace of the silver atom beam on the plate. So with Gerlach looking over my shoulder, as I peer closely into the plate, we were surprised to see the trace of the beam. And finally, we realized what happened. I was then the equivalent, according to Otto Stern, the equivalent of an assistant professor. My salary was too low to afford good cigars, so I smoked bad cigars. These had a lot of sulfur in them, and so the breath on the plate turned into silver sulfide, which is jet black and so easily visible. So it was like developing a photographic film. So you can see that in some sense, not doing what the lab is supposed to do actually allow them to win the Nobel Prize. I know that for some of you, this may not be the last physics Olympiad that you participate in. And for many others who are moving on to the university, I sincerely hope that you will choose physics as a career. Physicists are known for their problem-solving skill, not unlike an engineer, but perhaps more in-depth in many ways. Physicists are versatile, and you'll see them everywhere in biology, to geography, to economics, to finance. In fact, one of my best past students in Physics Olympiad is now a very successful professor of finance in the United States, even though he was trained as a physicist. At the opening ceremony on May the 23rd, Professor D.K. Ashwar spoke about the standards of measurement, something that every physicist, especially the experimentalists, should be aware. He spoke about cesium clock. Until very recently, one of my colleagues at the Center for Quantum Technologies in Singapore, Murray Barrett, has also singled out a new element, lutetium, as a better clock. Murray showed that lutetium has lower sensitivity to temperature than any atom that we use today for any atomic clocks. We believe that ultimately the standards may change with a basket of atoms. My good friend Bill Phillips has always been enthusiastic about standards and measurements. Recently, together with his friend Peter Moore, who was chairing the Commission 2 at the International Union of Pure and Applied Physics, Peter Moore, Bill suggests that the radiant should be given the dimension. Yes, I know it is dimensionless. By giving this dimensionless quantity a dimension, allow experimentalists to decipher and sometimes check accuracies in the measurements. Finally, I would like to thank the APhO organizing committee, particularly Professor Ravi Bhattacharjee, Dr. Praveen Pathak, and Professor Vijay Singh, Professor Vijay Kumar, convener of the local organizing committee, for a successful hosting of the Olympiad. I would also like to thank Graphic University for co-organizing this event, and the Indian Association for Physics Teachers for their immense support. Finally, let me thank everybody present for coming to this this event, and I hope that you will enjoy your experience, and I hope to meet you next year in Mongolia. Good night, maybe good afternoon or good morning. Bye.
Professor Leon, thank you so much. Let's have a huge round of applause for the president himself. Thankfully, we had a fantastic network, and it was absolutely crystal clear. It was a fantastic chat. And now, before I proceed further and call our guest of honor, Dawal sir, on stage, I'd like to introduce him first of all to the August gathering today. Dr. Rajendra Dawal is currently working as Director General, Uttarakhand State Council for Science and Technology, Government of Uttarakhand. He had a distinct privilege of to occupy the positions like Chairman and Managing Director, National Research Development Corporation, NRDC, Government of India, Director, Uttarakhand Science Education and Research Center, USAC, Director, Uttarakhand Space Application Center, USAC, Senior Scientific Advisor, Project Director, Uttarakhand State Biotechnology Board, Scientist, Tech Advisor to DG, and Science Advisor, Government of Madhya Pradesh, Bhopal in the past. He is also Chairman of the Sustainable Development Forum, Uttaranchal, a Fellow of the National Academy of Sciences, India. Dr. Dawal is a known intellectual property, IP, professional trained from Department of Science and Technology, Gold, Washington University, USA, International Law Development Institute, ILDI, Manila, Philippines, and National Law University, Bangalore. He has also been the recipient of the Royal Australian Chemical Institute Award 2007 and International Commonwealth Youth Silver Award in 2008, amongst the many that he has been a recipient of. So before you come for your address, I'd like to request the Vice Chancellor, Graphic at Hill University, Professor Dr. Jayakumar sir, to kindly come up and present him with a bouquet of flowers and a token of appreciation as a memento. So if you could kindly come up before your address. Thank you. Let's have a huge round of applause. Thank you. That has very, very closely been related with Africa in the past anyway. Thank you, sir, for your address now. Thank you.
Thank you, Sahib. Very good afternoon to you all. And, I was just whispering with my colleagues sitting left, right to me, that who is this guy? They have absolutely Bollywood character. Sahib, name is also, why don't you try for some serious also, OTT and wonderful. Dr. Ajit Kumar Chaturvedi, the Director IIT, a very distinguished scientist and academician. and a very good friend of mine, and the chief guest for today's function. Professor J. Kumar, again, is a very good friend of mine, the former Vice Chancellor, Pantnagar University, and now currently Graphic Era University. The Chancellor of the Graphic Era deemed to be University, Professor Joshi, a very eminent person, very senior person here. Professor Nagaraj, the Vice Chancellor of Graphic Era deemed to be University. And Sanjay Jasula is the DG of deemed to be University. And you know, I know many of you, and you know me also. So therefore, there is no need to take much of time on this. But I was very impressed by Professor Vijay Singh, his address, and especially the problems or from the the posing problems for the Olympiad. And what I call, in comparatively difficult English, Kalida Janchura, between a poet and physics. That is Jan Jayasankar Prasad and Kalidas. And their combination of their creation into physics. I don't know how much physics they would have understood, but I'm sure that the person of Vijay Singh and Mr. Pathak also, and other members of the very learned organizing committee, it's a great thinking about physics vis-a-vis about the culture of their country. That's great. I learned for the first time. And the president of the Indian Olympiad 2022. And many of the participants and the office bearers might be heading us from abroad. I think 23 or 28 countries. 28 countries. It's not time to speak much as I used to. I'm given 5 minutes. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate this Graphic Era family, I would say, for hosting and putting Indian head high amongst these countries. Normally in the government circles, hosting such international fixtures, private universities are not preferred. And we have very outstanding private universities, I would say, better than the government universities here in India. But ultimately the opportunity was grabbed by the Graphic Era family. So my congratulations to this university, congratulations to the all gold, silver, bronze people. But we were probably, I couldn't see in detail, but I was seeing that there was no Indian representation in the first 11. But anyway, I hope next time around we'll find some, and congratulations to People's Republic of China, 7 out of 10. That's 8. 7 out of 11, 1 Australia, 3 USA. That's again a very, unevenly poised kind of, the country might, work hard to my mind. So thank you very much, the organizing committee, for giving me the opportunity and speak in the political session. Thank you very much. I wish all good, all great. Thank you.
Without further ado, we now have a promo video from APhO 2023, which will be hosted by Mongolia and followed by the address by Organizing Secretary for APhO, Dr. Senkaplakjik. I hope I pronounced it correctly, all the way from Mongolia. So if we can have the promo video, thank you.
Азийн физикийн 23 дугаар Олимпиадыг Монгол улсад зохион байгуулах боломж олгосон Азийн физикийн Олимпиадын хороонд гүн талархал илэрхийлж байна. Шинжлэх ухаанд ирээдүйдээ итгэлтэй шинэ үеийг бэлтгэхэд өндөр ач холбогдолтой энэхүү Олимпиадыг Монгол улсын ерөнхийлөгчийн ивэлдээр зохион байгуулах болсондоо таатай байна. Азийн физикийн 23 дугаар Олимпиадад хүрэлцэн ирж манай сайхан оронд тавтаа морилгыг та бүхнийгээ урьж байна.
I request if we can have Dr. Enkaba send Baljik to kindly, I'll invite him cordially to the Zoom meeting now, if we can have the link. I request the technical team to kindly put the link on. For Dr. Enkaba.
Hello, everyone. Dear students and colleagues and distinguished guests, on behalf of all Mongolian physicists and myself, I would like to congratulate to all the contestants of this year and express our gratitude to the organizers for successfully holding the 22nd Asian Physics Olympiad in India, a country of great ancient history and culture. We would like to express our great gratitude to the President of Asian Physics Olympiad, Professor Yuan Chang Kwek, and the committee for their decision for choosing Mongolia as the host country for the next year's Olympiad. The 23rd Olympiad will be organized by Mongolian Physical Society under the auspices of Mongolian President, His Excellency Khurshid Okhna, and it will be held at the National University of Mongolia, the largest and oldest modern university of our country. And it's our great honor to welcome you to Mongolia, Ulaanbaatar, the capital city of Mongolia, to the 23rd Asian Physics Olympiad in 2023. After 15 years, once again, we will have a chance to host this great event. And we are eagerly anticipating to meet you all in person. And we would look forward to share with you our rich cultural heritage and beautiful natural landscape. We hope all the students and teachers from the participating countries will have unforgettable experience and memories in Mongolia. Thank you very much. And over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Enkma, and congratulations for being the next hosts. Very sweet man, very soft to talk to. Reminds me of Genghis Khan every time you hear of Mongolia. And I have this opportunity to taste Mongolian food as well. They are next level. You get next level food. And if you're a non-vegetarian, it's a delight. And I've just lost a few pounds and just got the craving so bad. But I hope they invite us somehow and we can go to Mongolia and attend this Olympiad as well. If you need a free anchor, I hope someone is out in here. But with that note, from Mongolia, let's come back to Punjab. And we have the closing act by the Cultural Committee before I call our chief guest, Professor Ajit Kumar Chaturvedi, Director IIT Roorkee, on stage before I call you. For his welcome, we have a very enigmatic and a bombastic performance by our Bhangra team. So without any further ado, let's have the Bhangra team on stage. Thank you.
आएंगे भाई आएंगे मैं तो सेट कर लूंगा क्या
तेरे नाल चलिए
कैसे कार विच मेरे जुनू में जे यार ये पट खान पींदे पंगे जान जा लंदे अभी बैठे आ बठाया बंदे उठने नहीं दिंदे लेंदे मिंटो मिंट ना तो
Before we go any further, and you will start that for them as well. It's so amazing to see what's happening in this room today. We are going through the valedictory ceremony of an Olympiad, which has 28 countries together, performing together. We have people and the APhO team coming from all over the country. Single cause that putting people together through physics, graphical, of course, with people who are performing on stage, of course, some of them assisting the APhO to have a fantastic function to go around. People performing on Garhwali, Nepalese, and Bollywood dances, and people doing Punjabi bhangras with African doing Garhwali songs in it. There's a guy, Ravi sir, coming and playing us Imagine and telling us that video that everybody, the world is one place and all for one and one for all. What else can we ask for? I think we're going the right way. And for that note, and for that vibe, and for that feel, let's have a huge round of applause for that. And before we come towards the end of this program, and I call our prestigious chief guest on stage, I'd like to introduce him. Professor Ajit Kumar Chaturvedi received his BTech, MTech, and PhD degrees in electrical engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, in 1986, 1988, and 1995, respectively. He served in the Department of Electronics Engineering at the IIT Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi, from 1994 to 1996. Subsequently, he joined the faculty of the Department of Electronics and Computer Engineering at IIT Roorkee. In 1999, he moved to IIT Kanpur, where he also held the positions of the HOD, head of the Department of Electrical Engineering, Dean of Research and Development, and Deputy Director. He received Tai Chin Chuan Fellowship of Nanyang Technical University, Singapore in 2008, Professor Chaturvedi is an outstanding teacher. He received the Distinguished Teacher Award of IIT Kanpur in the year 2007 and INSA Teacher Award in the year 2017. Presently, he is the director of IIT Roorkee, Uttarakhand. So before I call you for your address, I very kindly and humbly request Chancellor, Graphic Era Dean to be University, R.C. Joshi sir, kindly come on stage and felicitate him, and with a small memento and a bouquet of flowers right at the center of the stage before he starts his best. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Ajit Kumar Chaturvedi. Let's have a huge round of applause. Thank you.
Dignitaries in the front row and all students and faculty who are sitting in this auditorium, all those who joined online. A very happy moment for me when I'm visiting the Graphic Era Hill University for the first time. Always wanted to be here one day. It's good that it was today afternoon when it's the valedictory function of the Asian Physics Olympiad. Before I go into a few things that I wanted to say, I wanted to mention that it was a real pleasure and honor to have received the memento from Professor R.C. Joshi. Because many of you, or hardly anybody in this hall, would be knowing that the relationship that Professor Joshi and me have. He was the head of the department when I joined as a lecturer in University of Roorkee in the ECE department. And also very pleased to see Professor Vijay Singh here. We are meeting after a gap of 18 years, 2004 when he left IIT Kanpur. So today is a very happy moment when we are meeting old friends, old acquaintances. I must congratulate first the team that brought the Asian Physics Olympiad to India. I'm sure that it must be the National Steering Committee that has played a role in that. It is not a mean achievement to bring it to India. Not that India doesn't deserve it, but because some people have to get together to make a plan, to make a presentation, to work for it. And of course, then we are deserving, we should get it. And it's not a surprise that we got it, but it's very good some people work for it. And then the Graphic Era Hill University team, that once it comes to India, then it comes to Graphic Era Hill University. I think Graphic Era Hill University deserves a round of applause for that. This is a very credible event which has established its reputation over several decades. Of course, International Physics Olympiad or International Science Olympiads in different disciplines are known. But then Asian Physics Olympiad also has a long history, very long history. And going through the academic program of the Physics Olympiad, the kind of questions that have been set, the kind of division into theory and experiment, and the kind of effort that goes into preparing these questions shows that how much maturity and rigor it has obtained over a long period of time. I was just wondering that today is also a time when we must remember
the person who thought of organizing or having such physics Olympiads, whether at the international level or at the Asian level, somebody must have thought someday that.
Então, confirmando, pessoal, o resultado brasileiro, né, que teve uma certa confusão de compartilhamento de tela da organização, né, e também o som que estava bem difícil assim de ouvir o que o cerimonialista falava, né. Então, o Brasil recebeu 3 menções honrosas. Tudo bem, eu vou ler os nomes aqui. Os nomes dos premiados das menções honrosas foram o Gabriel Veríssimo Girão, o Paulo Henrique dos Santos Silva e o Rafael Moreno Ribeiro. Então, o Rafael chegou bem perto da medalha de bronze, né? Foi a 3ª menção honrosa. E a gente recebeu mais 2 medalhas, né? Uma medalha de bronze do Matheus Felipe Ramos Borges e uma medalha de bronze do Gabriel Moraes Barros. Tá? Então, dos 8 participantes do Brasil, a gente recebeu 5 premiações, né? Nossa primeira participação do Brasil da competição, tá bom? E eu vou encerrando por aqui a transmissão, tá? Uma vez que a gente já sabe o resultado, tá bom? E agradeço muito a audiência de todo mundo que assistiu a premiação até aqui, ok? Então, muito obrigado e até mais.
I'm sure it is inspiring